It was your police force, your government, your state. They're the ones who are acting unlawfully. They're the ones who are betraying their oaths, not me. On the 27th of July 2025, I held the biggest patriotic protest Britain has ever seen in Trafalgar Square. 100,000 people peacefully coming together. On the 28th of July, in the morning, I was attempting to make my way to Spain. As I pulled up Folkestone Dock, I handed in my passport. I was asked where I was going. I explained, Benidorm. And within 34 seconds, because that's what came out in court, I was detained under the Terrorism Act, Article 7. I was detained as someone who's suspicious in the preparation and acts and instigation of an act of terrorism. Now, the headlines went all over. For over a year, I had the continued Tommy Robinson faces terrorism trial, Tommy Robinson terrorist, all these allegations, which I knew to be untrue. And I knew that the courts, once again, and the police, once again, had been weaponised to target me. Not because of what I've done, but because of who I am. I was arrested and detained under the Terrorism Act within 34 seconds for being Tommy Robinson. This has happened continuously for 15 years. Now, once I went to court, this is where we're meant to have an open and free press. So we go to court, we have a 2-day trial. During this trial, lots of evidence is put to the police, lots of questions are put to the police, and many things are proved in open court. There are at least 25 mainstream media journalists listening to every second of that case. Now, what they got from what happened in court, the headlines they run, my King's Counsel said to me afterwards, I can't believe with what just happened in court, what the media have run. They made this entire case about a silver Bentley, of which, just to put the record straight, the receipt, the invoice, the transportation, it was a friend's car that I was transporting. There was no question from the police or suspicion about the car. But the media made it all about a Bentley and about cash that I had. Once again, no question about the cash because it was all proven with the police where the cash come from. So there was no questions about that. My arrest was not because of that. I was detained under the Terrorism Act before they knew any cash was in the car. And you have to use cash and transport cash if you're debanked from every bank in the UK, as someone like me is. Because once again, because of who I am, not what I've done. Let me ask you a question. Are you a journalist?
Of course.
Do you think I should be detained under terrorism legislation if there's no suspicion of a crime? Do you think they should have access to what's in my phone as a journalist? What's your answer? You're a journalist.
I would not want a journalist to have the state have access to their phone.
So you support me today?
Not necessarily.
Why don't you support me today then? I'm a journalist and they detain me under terrorism legislation to get access to my mobile phone to see who I talk to and what my source of information are. So you just said you wouldn't support that.
I'm a journalist.
So do you think that's right?
I'm covering the story.
Okay, so do you think that's right?
I'm just here in the middle. So
we have this court trial and the media, to you, the public, the judge bans any citizen journalist reporting, which means that citizen journalists are not allowed to relay what's happening in court. No one is allowed to relay what's happening in court apart from the mainstream media.
Well, the judge looked at my credentials from Canada. I'm a member of the Independent Press Gallery. And frankly, I think the UK needs an independent press gallery because the National Union of Journalists, I'm told, has a bit of a political bias and they do not accredit citizen journalists who don't toe a certain line.
Yeah.
The judge did say I could live tweet, but Wendell, my point of view is other people should be allowed to as well. Journalism is not a profession like law or medicine where there's actually, like journalism is an activity. Either you do it or you don't do it. So I think the judge has to open wide the doors to the court. In the interest of transparency and modernity, he's got to stop preferencing the legacy media, Wendell.
Well, now we know from the judge's judgment what he found. We know and you know what happened in that 2-day trial. But you wouldn't know any of those things or any of those points that were proven, i.e. that the police lied. The judge found that I was targeted through discrimination against me based on my political beliefs. He also found that the police followed no procedures, that they literally made things up as they went along, that they lied about the reason for detaining me, that they lied about the questions they asked me. He found that arresting me under terrorism, not once was I questioned anything about terrorism. All of this now proven from the judge. But the big question I have from this trial is, why was none of this given to you from the mainstream media who sat there during that 2-day trial? All of these points that were proven, when a police officer was on the dock, he accepted on the dock what he'd done was unlawful. In questioning, he admitted it was unlawful. Did the mainstream media report that to you? Did any of this come back to you? Now, what they hoped was that the judge, like most other judges to date, would just go with the political decision. I.e., I was targeted because of my political beliefs by counterterrorism. I was prosecuted by CPS, who are supposed to be independent, because of my political beliefs. Again, politicised arrest, politicised court case. They hoped for a politicised decision from the judge. That way, you would never have got any of the information of what happened in court. You've now got a damning verdict from a judge who has written it in black and white. But none of those points from the judge, none of them, were reported by the media. During 2 days, as they sat and watched all of this unfold, they sat and watched a police officer get caught out lying. They sat and watched him admit it was unlawful. They knew that they'd done no background checks. They knew that they targeted me within 34 seconds. The fact that I was detained in 34 seconds, when they're supposed to question you for an hour first, and if they don't get what they want from their hour, they then go into terrorism legislation. This is all known. They didn't do any of that, 34 seconds. The media told you none of that, reported you none of that. Even when I'm cleared, okay? So let's look at Sky News' reporting. I'm cleared, I'm found not guilty. Let's look at why the judge says I'm found not guilty. I'm found not guilty due to being targeted because of my political beliefs. The judge's words, I cannot get out of my mind the fact that you were targeted for who you are, not what you did. That's the judge's words. Listen to the Sky News report.
Breaking news to bring you now, just hearing that Tommy Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley Lennon, has been found not guilty of a terror offence over refusing to give police access to his phone during a border stop. This is linked to a situation in July 2024 at Folkestone at the Channel Tunnel. He allegedly told officers, "Not a chance, bruv," when he was pulled aside and asked to give access to his phone. He was in a Bentley on his way to Benidorm, the court heard earlier in October of this year. He had denied the charges against him and had been facing the potential of 3 months in prison and or a £2,500 fine if found guilty. But the court says he is not guilty of a terror offence over refusing to give police access to that phone during the border stop. He had £13,000 on him, €1,900. He was going to Benidorm in Spain for a few days, he told officers, and he had been accused of, I quote, frustrating counter-terrorism powers by refusing to give access to the phone. His defence was that he had journalist material on it when speaking to officers, claiming, "It's my work, I'm a journalist, it contains information about vulnerable girls." The court had heard he had given short, vague replies and made no eye contact to officers in that stop. But like I say, in the past few moments, Tommy Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley Lennon, found not guilty of a terror offence.
So even now, when a judge's judgment has been handed down, they're still making it about the car. They're still trying to paint suspicion about why I was in an expensive car, why I had cash, which has never been in question. There's never been an investigation because there was no crime. The major point in here was the police, the state, targeted someone, a journalist, to get access to their mobile phone so they could see who I talk to and what I do, probably to build further politically motivated cases against me based on what they could try and muster up from my mobile phone. But let's rewind 18 months, roughly 18 months ago. I went to work as a journalist in central London. I was approached by the police, forcefully told to leave the city.
I'm sorry, officer, but I have a job and I believe in freedom of the press. You may not, Sadiq Khan may not, Mark Rowley may not, but I believe in freedom of the press. I'm here to do my job and the police do not dictate.
Incident number is 2563. The location is Strand in London. Can I ask for your name?
I was arrested, attacked by a mob of police officers. Whilst my hands are behind my back, as you can see here, I was point blank pepper sprayed. I was then taken to a police station where I spent 24 hours. I was then prosecuted. I was charged. Not them, I was charged. For 6 months, I was banned from my capital city. Again, headline after headline after headline about me being in the wrong. We then go to trial at a cost of £53,000. So it's lawfare the whole way through this. This is just in the last 18 months. Now, at that court case, again, the judge gave them a damning verdict. Everything they'd done was unlawful and illegal. Does anyone lose their job? The process is the punishment. I still lost. I was attacked, pepper sprayed, arrested, 24 hours in the cells, court case after court case after court case, banned from my capital city. And then at the end, sorry, we did do this illegally. So in the last 18 months, that was illegal. I was targeted because of who I was then. This has been the same. You've managed to watch this because I've been back on social media for the last 24 months. This is no difference. If you read up my Wikipedia and read my criminal convictions, every one of them has exactly the same story like this. I was targeted because of who I am, not what I've done. So I was targeted by the police, the judge give a damning verdict, nothing changes. Again, they just target me again, using counter-terrorism. They don't care. And just as now this has been proven unlawful, how many politicians did you hear talk about it? How many mainstream media's condemned it? How many journalists condemned what they did to me? None. Do you know what? This will happen again. They will continue to use the police as a weapon to target not just me, but anyone on our side of politics. Because two-tier policing that we talk about, this is it. But this is, for me, the major story out of this case. Yes, I got found not guilty. You all knew I'm targeted because of who I am. I knew it. But the major case here is that 25 journalists watched this case and didn't report any of the evidence to you. And the judge limited who could report, making sure only the mainstream media could report you. How come not one of you reported any of the stuff the judge found today? During the trial, I'm going to talk about, you made it about a car, you made it about money, you made it about me, you made it about far right.
As I've said,
yeah?
I am here about to report on your not
'Cause
guilty
you have to.
verdict.
Yeah.
Why
didn't you report one of the single facts that come out today?
I actually don't think you know what my reporting included, so I don't think you can accurately accuse me.
I did. I searched the internet. I searched the internet after my trial, and I found that not one person found that, because the police officer admitted he acted unlawfully. The police officer admitted he detained me after 34 seconds. Not one of you reported it. So I'm blessed. And I'm grateful to the judge for having principles and standing by the truth on this case. But if he didn't, say I had a judge like Justice Nicklin. You've all watched my film Silence. So you know I produced the evidence in that case. You know I proved my case. But say we had another judge like Justice Nicklin, then I would have been convicted yesterday. I'd have been convicted of that court case. I'd have been sent to jail, and none of you would have known the police lied. It took 34 seconds. They went against all their own regulations. None of you would have known any of the facts from this case because not one single mainstream media journalist reported any of those points to you. You can do your part now by sharing this video. So anyone who has a negative opinion of me based on the media portrayal or on my police convictions, please share this video with them so they can see what my convictions are about. They can actually read the judge's words as to why I've been targeted in each of these cases and actually read who acted unlawfully in both of these instances. It wasn't me. It was your police force, your government, your state. They're the ones who are acting unlawfully. They're the ones who are betraying their oaths, not me. I've stood on my principles as a journalist who believes in free speech and free press. On the first case, I refused. No, I will report. That's my job. I won't be deterred. I was arrested. On the second case, no, you will not have my PIN code. You will not have the sources of my information. So I stood on my principles. They stood against theirs.